Now to Cape Town, my colleague Lester Kiewit is standing by, and with him Corne Mulder from the Freedom Front Plus party. Lester, let's hear what Mr. Mulder has to say.
Thank you very much, Jeremy there. While the tweets by Donald Trump have been wildly condemned by most political organizations and representatives here at Parliament, there's one party that has come out endorsing Donald Trump's tweets, and that is the Freedom Front Plus. With me now is Corne Mulder of the Freedom Front. Mr. Mulder, I'm going to quote your reply to Donald Trump. This morning you told him, "Thank you, President Trump. It is the intention of the ANC government to steal property from whites under the term expropriation without compensation. We need your help." Is this an intellectually honest comment to make when this discussion is still ongoing? There have been plenty of assurances from the president that is following perfectly legal processes and sober processes, with the process still happening in Parliament. Is this an intellectually honest comment and reply to make to Donald Trump?
We don't make comments that are not intellectually honest. We don't do that. I was in the House yesterday and I heard President Ramaphosa very clearly stating unequivocally that the ANC is going ahead with expropriation without compensation regardless of the parliamentary process. So there is no doubt that the ANC and President Ramaphosa and the ANC government intends to go ahead with what they are doing, and in that vein we've stated very clearly as from March already this year that we have a campaign to internationalize this issue, and therefore we welcome what President Trump has announced, the steps he has announced, that he's asked his Secretary of State to investigate what's happening in South Africa, not only with regard to expropriation without compensation, but also to look into the whole question of farm murders, and we are very happy that he's doing so.
President Ramaphosa yesterday, responding to the Freedom Front Plus's leader Peter Groenewald, speaking in Afrikaans, asked the Freedom Front Plus to look at a broader issue, that of transformation, development and stability, yes, and that without a predominantly poor and black population who are still suffering under the effects of apartheid and the dispossession of land, without stability, it affects the broader South Africa, including white Afrikaans, the white Afrikaans constituency. So don't you agree with that fact?
No, we understand that, and I don't have a problem with that. But what we must understand is that a country is governed by a constitution, not by utterances of a president or a current government. If you tamper with the right to own private property and you change the constitution, there will be another government after the ANC. There will be another president after President Ramaphosa. You cannot change the constitution and take away a basic fundamental right, the right to own private property, and that's exactly the problem.
Julius Malema asked the president in a parliamentary question yesterday, does he agree with the EFF stance for the state to be the custodian of land? The president moved away and created distance between himself and the EFF, saying that it is his plan and it is the yearning of, and using his words, the yearning of particularly poor black South Africans to own something. So he's obviously creating distance. So how can you say that that is currently government policy or the president's policy?
I'm not saying that's the government's policy or the president's policy. But how do you write the president's assurances into a constitution? Because you cannot do that. Either you recognize the right to own private property, and you also include the right that if you expropriate, which is international accepted norm, you need to compensate people for the property. Now you want to take that right away. How do you put in a constitution those preconditions that the president wants? It must further food security. It must have the economy make the economy possible to grow, etc. The president's in a very difficult position. He needs the EFF 6% to get to a 2/3 majority. And the EFF knows exactly what they want. They want the state to own all the property. That's not the position of the ANC at this stage. We know that. But the fact of the matter is, if you expropriate without compensation, it cannot be acceptable, and it's not acceptable. South Africa must look at the consequences, for example, at the AGOA agreement. If South Africa goes along this route, we may be kicked out of that agreement with huge implications for our economy. We might face a further downgrade. We must tread very carefully in this whole issue. Very, very carefully.
So is your endorsing of President Trump's statements, groups like AfriForum also endorsing it, is that then in the national interest? If we could risk losing our third largest trading partner if President Trump decides to pull the plug on the AGOA agreement, is then your stance in the national interest?
It's not in the national interest to take away the right to own private property in South Africa. It tampers with the most fundamental basic right of any democracy in the world. That can never be in the interest of South Africa. For example, the President gives certain assurances to the Zulu King with regard to the Ngonyama Trust. You cannot give assurances by President if you change the Constitution and take that right away to own private property. So, no, we want the government to understand the complexity of this whole matter. We understand that we need land reform, but we are now paying the price for the ANC government that for 24 years dragged their feet in the whole process of land reform in South Africa. And there are other measures and other ways to do exactly what needs to be done. But if you tamper with the Constitution, which provision of the Constitution will be next? We don't know.
Just my final question. We know that groups like AfriForum have gone far and wide to spreading their narrative of the issue, of the conversation of land expropriation, the land debate. Has the Freedom Front Plus actively been part of that, providing logistical, financial, other sort of support in trying to influence this narrative, particularly in the United States and places like Australia?
Not with the AfriForum itself. We've got our own own strategy and our own project in this regard, and we've been doing so. We've been traveling abroad, and we're bringing to the attention of the international community of what's happening in South Africa, and we think it's very important that the world takes note of what's happening, and we hope that the government will come to its senses.
Corne Mulder, the MP for the Freedom Front Plus here in Parliament, endorsing, backing, agreeing with the comments of US President Donald Trump. This goes in stark contrast to the statements made by government spokesperson Mvula Mokonyane, as well as International Relations Minister Lindiwe Sisulu, saying that the comments made by Donald Trump are unfortunate. They're asking for a meeting with the United States Secretary of State, and while they're saying they find these comments unfortunate, it does not sour US-SA relations for now. Jeremy?
All right, Lester Kiewit, for the moment, thank you very much indeed. We'll continue to gauge political